The louder the legend, the stickier the audience. Tom Hanks is practically America's comfort blanket. Prince Harry is global curiosity clickbait. Seth Meyers runs late-night room rhythm like a conductor with dimples. So a fictional clash between them is essentially guaranteed attention gravity. Have you ever wondered why audiences love verbal fireworks, even when no actual flames exist? It's because conflict creates contrast. Contrast creates curiosity. Curiosity creates that dopamine lean. And leaning keeps you watching, especially for long-form storytelling engine arcs. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. But here's the twist we'll unpack slowly. When comfort figures turn sharp in stories, we pay more attention, not because the story is real, but because the inversion is compelling. And boy, inversion was doing cartwheels in this narrative. But what about the room that makes such clashes trend in the first place? Late-night shows are interesting beasts. They thrive on comedic unpredictability, but they also rely on invisible infrastructure. Audio feeds, cue cards, commercial timing, segment beats, audience warm-ups, sponsor sign-offs. It's chess and heels and headsets. Seth Meyers, the fictional linchpin in our imagined arena, understands how to surface chaos without destabilizing a show's heartbeat. He's known for quips that land like marshmallows, until they don't. Let me ask you directly, would you confront someone verbally if you knew cameras were already conducting the aftermath physics? Because fictional hosts later learned cameras pan not because something matters. Cameras pan because audiences lean. And the audience lean like a trigonometry class trying gossip angles. But here's the curiosity sting that sat like a cough drop on the desk. Why did the audience stop laughing at the joke? Not the hosts. The laugh itself questioned allegiance. Do you feel the curiosity gap opening wider? Good. That means it's working. But what actually made Tom's words feel sharper than a palace's rules, even fictionally? Award shows and late-night sets both operate on layered authority stacks. But while awards celebrate titles, late-night sets enforce timing, tone, and legal liability for what gets said. In our imagined breakdown, this was the stack hierarchy. Hosts conduct emotion, tone, jokes, timing. Producers conduct feed continuity, cuts, audio, reactions. Venues enforce compliance only when safety breaks. Audio decides physics if encryption falters. Audience owns instincts regardless of all of the above. This night didn't break laws. It broke patterns in story form. And pattern violation, presented with the right pace, is story glue. Have you ever listened to the longest audio leak of 12 seconds? It's a fictional pandemic for engineers in headsets. But that's the dissonance you came for. Fame is narrative. Narrative is applause. Applause is signal. Signal is loyalty. Loyalty is a fuse that burns only until the building's rules say stop. Do you think immunity outranks liability? On stage, maybe. In hallways, never. In audio? Absolutely not. But wait, weren't we talking about delegated badges earlier? Yes. Because the smallest seed is the biggest payoff. And payoff is oxygen we're saving for later. But next, we pivot into the human side of this imaginary showdown. Now, let's talk about the moment protocol broke on the hosts' faces. Because the audience didn't hear the earpieces. They read the faces that betrayed the earpieces anyway. Kelly Ripa, fictional version, is a champion smiler. The kind of smiler who can power through mic feedback, bad jokes, wardrobe malfunctions, teleprompter stutters, Mark forgetting his entrance cue, all while radiating casual American brunch energy. Mark is her chemistry sidekick, her narrative co-pilot, the pair that makes audiences believe shows run on charm instead of contingency PDFs, which is why the mask slip mattered more. At 7:56 p.m. fictional time, Kelly Ripa accidentally stopped smiling for 6 full seconds. Not a mistake. A rupture. A social rupture. A narrative bullet. The damn crack that makes audiences go, wait, is my legend reacting like a liability protagonist? You see, hosts blink when mics flag audiences first as conceptual compliance protagonists before scripts rewrite lane movement curation. Lane curation is narrative. Venue curation is law. Audio curation is encryption fallback. Encryption fallback feeds were helpless after ghost feed leakage longer than a duchess could blink. And a 1-minute silent smile drop? That's bigger than fame. Fame makes you memorable. Silence makes you unignorable. Let's dramatize the mood shift. Because mood is everything when you're sustaining 30,000 words of engagement across a 1-hour script. Most viewers believe cameras cut to what matters. They don't. Cameras cut to where audiences lean before explanations justify leaning. A fictionalized camera operator would later joke, if the audience wants a protagonist, we'll deputize one. And the protagonist wasn't Meghan. It wasn't Harry. It wasn't Tom. It was the scaffolding of compliance that hadn't needed to exist until now. See those head tilts in row A03? Those are story votes. Tiny mitochondria of attention deciding who gets oxygen later. A 2-second live ghost feed connectivity scenario monitors Velcro retention cluster, splitting POV angle balcony seating anomaly BFS cascade, supported aisle noise infiltration architecture unapproved reaction, slicing immunity frameworks conflating stage, and seat and exit plan nodes ephemeral until wake. That's the kind of dense chaos YouTube audiences sit for, not because it's literally real, but because your brain is playing reality Scrabble while your eyes chase optics gravity. Which leads us to the next curious question that kept the room caffeinated. Why did the hosts feel powerful enough to call security later? Because the audience conceptually evicted focus first by consensus of neck posture microdata segregation, before evicted physically later when the building rules got anxiety spikes trending loud enough for unpaid but loyal seat fillers to care. But we're not paying it off yet. We're making sure you care enough for the payoff to land harder. But what about the infamous traitor accusation itself that sparked this entire search query fiction? Let's get into that. Let's continue the fictional architecture lens. This wasn't a palace removal. This was a broadcast staging interruption because someone had co-authored an authority mismatch ecology long before commercial break, slot disclaimers could authorize them emotionally. In award ceremonies, the hosts assume they mediate applause. At late night, hosts mediate sound. And sound mediates loyalty. But loyalty, unlike sound, needs oxygen. This oxygen was rationed intentionally. Not by the hosts initially, but by the building's compliance framework presented through mic encryption clusters, earlier inconsistent feed risk slicing clusters, where production operations keys invited not immune presence, but permitted presence until badge anomalies grayed outs signal instigated sabotage ecology, conceptually untemplated before broadcast began. And because audiences care about dethroning more than coronations, Tom calling Harry a traitor, fictional or not, is a dethroning metaphor, not a biography. It works narratively because it hits emotional spikes, betrayal, allegiance, comfort character turning sharp. But did he really say it? No, not factually, but narratively. It's fireworks. And fireworks are why people clicked your video. Yet here's the twist that keeps the narrative rocket burning even hotter. The audience didn't boo because traitor was said. They booed because their conceptual oxygen meter for authority stacks broke long before any acceptance speech got jurisdiction. Emotional contagion spikes, seat segmentation, lane slicing, debris ephemeral, until liability for styled archeat calibrations, into feed narrative meltdown architecture template escalation, continued asking why alleged sabotage, slicing authority warp between balconies earlier seated. Which begs one more irresistible question as we move closer to payoff later. If comfort breaks physics, does physics validate discomfort? Absolutely. It validates audience attention, but it doesn't validate factual guilt, only narrative guilt, which is precisely why we pace this wrong row slower, deeper, richer, real enough emotionally to sustain 1 hour of curiosity without pretending this event actually took place off Wikipedia or off news. Because it did not, but with the right voice. You still care. But the moment Kelly Ripa calls security, that isn't in this chapter. We bought your loyalty for that later. Now, let's ask one more cliffhanger to keep you salivating into the next installment. Row F17 was conceptually full enough to matter, but not legally full, because legal protagonists outrank optical protagonists once aisles are at risk, and delegates must pre-file header stamps, or else building security assembles protagonist clusters early. But the hosts were about to learn their charm wasn't crowned.